What if Deku joined Team JPDE? Chapter 53. Roses and Ashes. Tuesday. Day 142. Hey, Ruby. Good morning, Deku said. Hey, boyfriend. What's up, Ruby asked. Nothing much, I just thought I should come and say you have great taste, Deku said. Great taste? I don't understand, Ruby said. I'm referring to your taste in redheads, Deku said. Oh goods, Penny told you, Ruby asked. She told all of us. Wasn't she supposed to, Deku asked. That sounds silly, yes, considering. It's weird to say, but I liked it, but I don't think I want to do it again, Ruby said. Did something happen while Deku asked? Oh, no, absolutely. It was nice, Ruby said. Ruby and Deku didn't notice that Blake was now listening in. Really nice, actually. As first kisses could go, it was probably the best I could ever have, Ruby said. Penny really knows how to kiss, Deku said. Yeah. Thing is, though. Even though I liked it, I don't think I like girls any more than I did before, Ruby said. Oh. Well, that is a bit weird, yeah. You've thought about it, I guess, Deku said. Duh. I room with Weiss and Blake, remember? Still, I thought about it, and I thought about it. But it feels weird, thinking of kissing them and stuff, Ruby said. Blake then snuck away. Home. And what about of Penny, Deku asked. I really liked it, and whenever I think about it, I feel all warm and fuzzy inside, just like I did then. But what if it's just that one time? What if I only like boys, Ruby asked. I see what you mean. Me and David haven't kissed. Hell, I don't even know if I swing that way, Deku said. Really, Ruby asked. Yeah. It's just something that's never come up. I don't even know if I swing that way, Deku said. I see. I don't think I swing the other way either, Ruby said. Well, there's only one way to verify that, don't you think, Deku asked. You mean, Ruby asked. What else? Just come to our room when you're ready to experiment, Deku said. I guess there's no other way, Ruby said. And I'll refrain from further teasing until we've figured this out, Deku said. Thank you kindly. That's why I haven't told Young or the others, Ruby said. Good choice, that was, knowing Young. Anyway, we should get going, classes start soon, Deku said. Right, but before you go, Ruby said. Ruby then kissed Deku. Yes, I definitely like boys, Ruby said. Deku then pulled Ruby into a makeout session, which was only interrupted by the need for air. And I definitely like girls. Later, Rubes, Deku said. Yeah. Later, Ruby said. Deku then left, leaving Ruby high on love. Blake then returned with Young and Weiss. You kissed Penny, Weiss asked. Ruby jumped back in surprise. You like girls, Young asked. So I'm not good enough for you, Blake asked. No, Ruby yelled. After classes, Deku, David and Ruby had gone into Vale to meet with Bella, with Ruby staying out of sight until the right time. Hello, Bella, David said. Hey, Bella, Deku said. Hi, big brother, Ijuku, Bella said. Bella, yesterday I got to talk with Ruby. She told me you haven't been answering her calls, Deku said. Bella said. Oh, it's fine, she's not made, Deku said. But you did make her unable to apologize from a distance. So she had to take an alternative route, David said. Ha, Bella said. Behind you, Deku said. Bella had barely turned around when she was tackled by Ruby. Ah! Ruby, Bella yelled. I'm sorry for this, but also that, Ruby yelled. Ruby, please, Bella said. No, 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 no. I'm not letting go until you hear me out. I suck, okay? That thing with my mom is not your fault and it wasn't fair in any way to say that to you. I suck so hard and it's not your fault and I'm sorry and I don't hate you, Ruby yelled. Ruby, Bella yelled. What? Ruby yelled. Bella said. Oh my gods, why do I keep hurting the people I love? Ruby yelled. Overdramatic much? Deku asked. I'm sorry, Bella. I don't hate you and you're right, there must be another explanation, Ruby said. Apology. Accepted, Bella said. I mean, I can't say I'm not a bit envious of you, but it's not something I should blame you for. I doubt you liked being kidnapped and held captive, Ruby said. Hey. No, I don't. It's fine, Ruby. I should have given you a chance to apologize, Bella said. So, what have we learned today? David asked. Don't talk about complicated stuff with people if you're feeling extra emotional, Ruby said. Don't automatically assume the fault of everything lies with you. That's going to take some work, Bella said. I figured, David said. Well, now that's all sorted, shall we get down to business and then after we can go get something to eat? Deku said. Really? Yeah, Ruby said. Wait a minute. Why am I being treated like a little kid? Ruby asked. Do you really need to ask? David asked. Deku had received a text from Callie asking if he was free this afternoon. Deku believed he had the time, but he just needed to check one thing. Evelyn, sorry, is the dust assignment due tomorrow? Or Deku asked. No, that's for the next day. Why do you ask? Evelyn asked. Well, a friend asked if I had time to hang this afternoon, Deku said. Oh, a friend, huh? Anyone I know? Evelyn asked. Perhaps. Would you happen to know Cye Belladonna? Deku asked. Oh my gods, you met Blake's mother. She's in Vale, Evelyn said in surprise. So you do know her? Is she a big deal? Deku asked. A big deal? He asks. Honey, sometimes I love lack of knowledge you have of our world. Okay, so full disclosure, Blake's parents, the Belladonnas, were the previous leaders of the entire organization. Talking Remnant wide, here, Evelyn said. The entire thing. Wow, Deku said. Yeah, but that was before they went all armed resistance. The Belladonnas were the last leaders of the first generation, so to speak. Mostly trying to change things through diplomacy and pacific activism. Eventually, they quit. The successor was a woman named Sienna Khan, and she's the one who turned the White Fang into what it is right now. Anyway, you're saying she's here? I didn't think they ever left Menagerie, Evelyn said. Menagerie? That's the island that was given to the Fauni after the Great War, right? Deku asked. Yup. It was given to them as a safe haven for all Fauni kind. Though not everyone sees it in that way. Anyway, the Belladonnas are the current heads of government on the island, Evelyn said. Damn, Deku said. Yup. And she's asking to hang out. What gives? Evelyn asked. Well, she came here for Blake, but they don't have a talking relationship. So she's probably wants to get more info about her whilst she decided if she wants to reveal herself or not, Deku said. I see. Well, promise me the scoop when you come back, okay? Evelyn asked. Promise. I should probably change first, though, Deku said. Would you like some help? Evelyn asked. We'll have to be quick, Deku said. Evelyn grinned. After changing, Deku headed into Vale to meet with Callie. Izuku, I'm glad you could make it, Callie said. Hey, Callie. Pleasure's mine, Deku said. Oh, nonsense. I'm sure a student of Beacon has a lot of better things to do with his time than hang out with an old lady, Callie said. Yeah, not that old. You're going to have to try a little better than that to get rid of me, Deku said. Perish the thought. You just got here. Let's take a walk, shall we? Callie asked. Deku and Callie then began to walk around Vale. My, Vale City is so vibrant nowadays. A far cry from the last time I've been here, Cye said. Did something happen last time, Deku asked. You could say it was the culmination of a lot of things. A protest turned violent, which we knew was going to happen but couldn't stop from going south. You must have heard of White Monday, no? That's what I'm referring to, Cye said. I'm sorry, but no. It's kind of embarrassing, but I'm not that knowledgeable on Remnant's current events. I come from a settlement that doesn't get great CCTS signal, so things that might be common knowledge to others aren't for me, Deku said. Oh, I see. That's quite understandable, Cye said. Thanks. I've been doing my best to catch up, but I've been rather busy at Beacon, Deku said. I see. I will try to keep that in mind for future conversations, and don't hesitate to ask about something you don't know, Cye said. I will. Let's continue walking, Deku said. Deku and Cye continued walking. So, what's White Monday, Deku asked. It's what they refer to as a day where a White Fang organized protest turned violent. The crowds engaged with the police, and we were forced to disperse. Not before dozens of injured and 3 deaths, though, Cye said. That's awful, Deku said. The worst part is that it saved us, Cye said. Excuse me, Deku asked. The protest was against a bill that would have allowed Shinee-owned businesses in Vale to hire workers with Atlassian contracts. Suffice to say, back then they were lacking, especially compared to Vale. But the Shinee had, somehow, managed to find themselves a majority in the council to lobby for drafting and passing such a bill. The protest happened on the day of the vote. The White Fang couldn't persuade them to strike the bill down. But the protests turning violent scared them into doing just that, Cye said. And that's a path you couldn't lead the Fang on, Deku said. Indeed. You're quite sharp despite your lack of knowledge, Cye said. I never said I was dumb. I've just read the synopsis whilst others have read the whole story, Deku said. An apt metaphor. Speaking of, is Blake still an avid reader, Cye asked. Indeed, she is. We actually bonded over reading a book together. And, we got closer after. And I caught her, Deku said, blushing. Huh? What's wrong, Cye asked. Deku could tell that Cye could read his face. Oh, my. Do I have to understand that my daughter is into erotica, now? Last time we talked, her only vice was tuna, Cye said. How, the Deku asked. It's almost too easy with you, Izuku. Guess Blake takes after me in more than food preference, Cye said. It's like you can read me like an open book, Deku said. Oh, I wouldn't go that far. All I can do is get some hints out of you, the rest is guesswork and experience in evaluating people. You get plenty, when you have led a life like mine, Cye said. And what kind of like would that be, Deku asked. How old are you exactly, Izuku, Cye asked. I'm 16. Why does that matter, Deku asked. Well, my life isn't something I should be telling those who are not supposed to hear about such things, Cye said. Oh, I see. But, technically I am considered an adult since I attend Beacon, and besides it can't be any worse than what goes bump in the night in the dorms, and my room is no exception, Deku said. Very well then, I shall share, but considering the private nature of the subject, maybe we could talk about it in a more private setting, Cye asked. Of course. What did you have in mind, Deku asked. My apartment would do. I've booked one for the duration of my stay in Vale and I'm the only occupant, Cye said. That sounds good to me. Hey, we haven't even finished hanging out today and we're already thinking of the next time, Deku said. No time like the present, I say. I don't want to get in the way of your studies too much, so, would a Friday evening work for you? That way you won't have to worry about waking up early the next morning, Cye said. Sounds like a plan, Deku said. Deku and Cye continued to hang out before going their separate ways. Deku had gone to the infirmary to see Miss Bo about getting an X-ray and another thing. Hello Miss Bo, Deku said. Good evening Mr. Midoriya. What can I do for you, Bo asked. I've come to get that X-ray of my body you wanted. Is now a good time, Deku said. I see. And yes, now is a good time. Please follow me, Bo said. Actually, before we do the X-ray, I have something to ask, Deku said. Oh, okay. Please, ask away, Bo asked. I would like to know the risks of having multiple sexual partners. Hey. Bo yelled so loud that it could be heard all through the school. Sorry. I just wasn't expecting that question, Bo said. It's alright. But please, could you tell me the risks, Deku asked. Well, there is an increased risk of contracting an STI, but I'm sure you will be careful in the sexual partners you have and don't go off with people you don't know, Bo said. Didn't plan on having sex with strangers, Deku said. I didn't think so. Now there has been studies that show that there is an increased risk of developing certain cancers for both males and females, but regular testing will help catch those cancers early, Bo said. I see, Deku said. Just be sure to practice safe sex and use a barrier as much as possible. I have brought some extra strong condoms since we last talked, so you shouldn't have any breakages with them, Bo said, blushing. Thanks. I'll be sure to use them, Deku said, blushing. The two remained silent for a moment. So shall we proceed with the X-ray, Bo asked. Yeah, Deku said. Deku and Bo then proceeded to the X-ray room. Alright. This shouldn't take too long, Bo said. Nurse Bo then activated the X-ray, but... Bo said. Is something wrong, Deku asked. It's nothing serious, I promise you. It's just that the X-ray machine appears to not be working, Bo said. Oh. Well, that's a shame. I guess I'll have to come back another time, Deku said. Hold on. I may be able to fix it. Just stay put, Bo said. Nurse Bo then came out and began to look over the machine. She ended up straddling on Izuku as she looked over the machine. I'm sorry, Mr. Midoriya, I can't fix the X-ray machine right now. I apologize. It's alright, Deku stuttered, whilst blushing. Nurse Bo then noticed that Deku's face was completely red. She then noticed something poking her. Her face went completely red, and she turned away. The two stayed silent until Deku let out a moan from Nurse Bo grinding on him. There is something else I can check instead, Bo said. Deku ended up spending the night in an infirmary bed with Nurse Bo. Wednesday. Day 143. Deku woke up next to Nurse Bo. Good morning, Mr. Midoriya, Bo said. Good morning, Miss Bo, Deku said. Please, call me Rain when we're in private, Bo said. Then call me Izuku, Deku said. Alright. Now we best get up. We can't stay here for long. As much as I hate that, Bo said. I do too. But it was a school night. Perhaps next time we can do this not on a school night. That's if you want to do this again, Deku said. I would love to, Bo said. Deku and Bo then put their clothes on and parted. Deku returned to his room to be met by Penny. Izuku. Where were you last night, Penny asked. I was in the infirmary, Deku said. Oh my. Are you alright, Penny asked. I'm fine, Penny. I just spent the night there with Rain, Deku said. Oh. So you like nurses. Preference recorded and saved. Now you best have a shower and get ready, Penny said. Right, Deku said. After school, Ruby was making her way to Team JPDDE's room to find out if she was in fact into girls. She should be here any minute now, Deku said. She'd better. How dare she have second thoughts about my girlfriend, Evelyn said. I don't think that's what's happening, David said. David's right. This is Ruby's first romantic relationship of any kind, Deku said. Some uncertainty is perfectly understandable. We'll get through this, Penny said. I guess so, Evelyn said. I'm here, Ruby said. Good afternoon, Ruby. What's wrong, Deku asked. They found out about everything. And I severely underestimated Blake's teasing abilities, Ruby said. The four laughed. Okay, I see, Deku said. And you can only imagine what awaits me once we're done here. Anyway, I'm here now. Let the lip-locking commence, Ruby said. Glad to see you so eager, Ruby. If I may, though. I actually thought of a way to empirically test and measure your sexual preferences, Penny said. You did? Evelyn asked. First I've heard about this, Penny, David said. Well, let's hear it then, Deku said. I've been thinking about it since you told me about your proposed solution to clear the knot of Ruby's doubts. We're going to use scientific method, Penny said. And that means, Ruby asked. We gather different data samples and compare the results. Then we repeat it more than one time to make it as objective as possible, trying to avoid bad data caused by accidental contaminations, Penny said. Okay. And what does that translate to, in our case, Deku asked. I think it'd be quicker if you just followed my instructions. A lengthy explanation would just serve to confuse. Let's start with the first sample. Ruby, please kiss Izuku, Penny said. Sounds easy enough, Ruby said. I shall observe. On my mark, please, Penny said. Wait, why do you have a stopwatch, David asked. Go, Penny said. Deku and Ruby then began to kiss. The kiss ended up lasting quite a while. And that's 5 minutes. Please release, Penny said. The two released and gasped for air. Magnificent lung capacity. Impressions, Penny asked. Impressions, she says, Deku said. It was like always. Amazing, Ruby said. I see. Then let's proceed to the next sample. David, please kiss Ruby, Penny said. All right, David said. Should be no difference, Ruby said. Indeed, but it's better to have more samples, Penny said. Well, I'm not complaining, here, David, Ruby said. David and Ruby then kissed for 5 minutes. All right. That's enough data from the male side. Evelyn, please kiss Ruby, Penny said. Wait, what? Evelyn asked. Evelyn. And Ruby, David asked. I mean, she's technically my girlfriend as well, but... Why? Ruby asked. I think a comparative sample that involves another girl will be tremendously helpful in further crafting a theory. And Evelyn's pretty much the only viable candidate, don't you think? Penny asked. I guess, Ruby said. Although, since I don't have much data about your interactions, I shall time you for a longer period. Whenever you're comfortable, Penny said. Evelyn and Ruby then kissed for a much longer time. Time's up. Please release, Penny said. Ruby gasped for air. Penny, Ruby yelled. Oh wow, my head, Evelyn said. Oh my gods, David said. That was extremely long, Deku said. That must be some kind of world record, David said. It is actually. Congratulations, everyone, Penny said. Yeah. I guess. Wow, Evelyn said. I need some rest. Oh gods, I can't feel my lips, Ruby said. Impressions, Penny asked. I mean, Evelyn is a great kisser, but I don't think I liked it as much as I should have, Ruby said. Probably because it half felt like running a marathon, Evelyn said. I'll be sure to make the next tier of sampling swifter, Penny said. Next sampling. Oh, wow, you did say we need to do this more than once, don't we? Deku asked. Next sampling shall be me and Ruby. Please hold on to the stopwatch, Izuku. Be sure to time us correctly, Penny said. Right away. Penny, no, wait one sec, time out, I need a moment, breather, technical, my lips are chafing, Ruby said. Penny then kissed Ruby. I do, the stopwatch, Evelyn said. Ah. Sorry. I got distracted, Deku said. I know you did, Evelyn said. The four of them spent the rest of the afternoon kissing Ruby in turns. Penny said. Penny. Please tell me we're done, Ruby said. Same, Evelyn said. I can't take any more kissing. I'm tired. And thirsty, Ruby said. And hungry, Evelyn said. Do not fret, everyone. The experiment has come to an end, Penny said. It has, Ruby asked. Sweet bunny lords in heaven, Evelyn yelled. Thank you, David yelled. Hooray, it's finally over. So Deku asked. Now, this is just an hypothesis, but I think that the reason for Ruby's confusion is not about the gender, but the relationship, Penny said. The relationship, David asked. What do you mean, Ruby asked. By all means, Evelyn is undisputably the best kisser out of the three of us, Penny said. Well, I try, Evelyn said. And yet you enjoyed kissing her the least out of the four of us. So, that go me comparing parameters. And my conclusion is, Ruby, you like both girls and boys, but whatever the case, you can't enjoy physical displays of affection fully if you don't share a mutual previously established meaningful relationship, Penny said. So, in short, I must be, like, in love to enjoy kissing and stuff. Physical attraction alone doesn't cut it, Ruby asked. In layman's terms, yes, Penny said. That's a bit embarrassing, Ruby said. Yeah, I agree, David said. Maybe just a little, Penny said. A little, she says, Deku said. I feel cut out, Evelyn said. Oh, don't worry, Evelyn. I'm sure in time Ruby will come to. Well. See you like me, Izuku and David do, Penny said. Hopefully. It's a nice little pentagon we got here, Evelyn said. Indeed. I mean, find me another group of people who'd go and do something like what we just did, Ruby said. Well, honestly, most of that is on Penny, David said. Oh, we couldn't have done it without your subservience to my implementation of the scientific method, Penny said. Okay, so. Dinner. I'm cooking, Deku said. Please, Ruby said. Oh, I could. I can't even say it, right now, Evelyn said. I guess I went a bit overboard with the sampling, Penny said. You did, David said. The five then went to have dinner. Oh my. I've completely forgotten about one last sample, Penny said. Penny. Please, no more kissing, Ruby said. Yeah. Whatever it is, it should matter that much, Evelyn said. If you say so. I would have just liked to get a sample from Izuku and David kissing, to see what their sexuality is, Penny said. How, David said. Deku said. Never mind then. Please proceed, Evelyn said. Okay. Izuku, David. If you'd please, Penny said. Hold up a second. Penny, Deku said. I need to get my scroll out. I'm going to take so many pictures, Evelyn said. Evelyn. Could you maybe not, David asked. Nope, Evelyn said. Penny, I know this is all for the sake of our relationship, but Deku said. Come on, Izuku. You got to see me kiss your girlfriends. It's only fair I see you and David kiss, Ruby said. But Deku said. Come on, you babies, Evelyn said. Penny and Evelyn then pushed Deku and David together. We're not going to let you go until you kiss, Penny said. Fine, Deku said. Izuku, David yelled. David, we're not going to escape this until we kiss. So let's just get this over and done with, Deku said. You're right, David said. Glad you two got with the program. Now, Kiss kiss kiss, Evelyn said. Deku and David sighed. Deku and David then moved closer together, but Deku stopped halfway. Hold on. What's that? Deku said, looking out a window. What's what? Ruby asked, as they all turned to look. Deku quickly took this opportunity, whilst everyone was distracted, to kiss David. Ruby, Penny and Evelyn turned back around just as they parted. Hey! You did that to distract us, Evelyn yelled. Guilty as charged, Deku said. Why you? Evelyn said. How did it feel? Ruby asked. It felt weird, but also it felt a little nice, David said. Yeah. It's hard to exactly describe how I feel, Deku said. I suggest kissing for a longer period would confirm on how you feel, Penny said. Probably. But not today. There have been enough kisses already, Deku said. Moo. That's not fair. I was looking forward to get a picture, Evelyn said. Well, that's your fault for getting distracted so easily. Better luck next time, David said. Deku had just told Jack about what happened with Cinder the day they left the lab ship's infirmary. That was ballsy. But necessary, Jack said. Yeah. She caught me by surprise, but I think I successfully put us at a stalemate, Deku said. If you turned your back on her and you didn't get a glass arrow through your knee, I'd say, Jack said. I was confident that wouldn't happen. She needs to stay covert, and she can't do that if she kills a student, and impossible to kill a team all at once. I pretty much humiliated her verbally and she could do nothing but watch me go, Deku said. Yeah. And it confirms that whatever she needs to do, it's pretty big. So, at one point or another, we're going to have to face it. The problem now is, how much of a nuisance did we make of ourselves, Jack asked. Yeah. If she thinks that, whenever it hits the fan, we're going to be able to do anything to stop or significantly hurt her plans, Deku said. She may just decide to risk it, Jack said. Yeah, but there's nothing to worry about. We're the strongest members of the team and so we'll have to be her first targets. And that won't be an easy feat, especially now I have danger sense, Deku said. You're right. Now, we've got some homework to do, Jack said. Right, Deku said. Deku realized something. Oh crap. I left my notebook in class, Deku said. You better hurry and get it, Glinda's curfew is approaching, Jack said. I know, Deku said. Deku then jumped off the balcony and rushed to the classroom. Meanwhile, Cinder was in the Beacon Gardens with Emerald. Emerald, Cinder said. Yes, my lady, Emerald asked. In your experience, what's the best way to threaten someone who's not afraid of you, Cinder asked. Threaten someone close to them. Or something, Emerald said. Cinder said. I've seen it where I grew up plenty of times. If the person you're trying to persuade doesn't care that much about their own incolumity, if they can't fear for themselves, make them fear for something close to them, Emerald said. Cinder then saw Deku running into the school. Let's see if it works for him, Cinder said. Cinder then followed after Deku. Deku then entered the classroom and began looking for his notebook. Shortly after, Cinder quietly entered. Deku soon found his notebook and was about to leave when the lights went out. Deku then felt a tingling in his head. You're not even trying, Cinder said. Cinder went to attack but Deku used Black Whip to entangle her and pin her against a wall. What was that about trying, Cinder? Seems like you need to try harder, Deku said. The fuck, Cinder said. So, why are you here trying to ambush me? Could it be you were trying to get back at me, Deku asked. Cinder remained silent. Doesn't seem like things have gone to plan for you, did they, Deku asked. How did you avoid my attack? I had you dead to rights, Cinder said. It's simple really. Danger sense, Deku said. What, Cinder said. Since I unlocked Danger Sense, I get a tingling sensation in my head when someone tries to attack me with malice. Quick, a useful quirk to have, Deku said. Quirk? What the fuck are you on about? Cinder asked. Truth be told, Cinder, I'm not from this world. I'm from a world of heroes and villains, where people have a superpower called a quirk. Every ability you've seen me used has been because of my quirks, not my semblance, Deku said. Bullshit, Cinder said. Do I look like I'm lying? Come on, tell me. I know you can, Deku said. No, Cinder said. Now quirks are part of our genetics, which means there are drawbacks when used. One of my quirks gives me super strength, but the drawback is that it can harm my body from overuse, and in fact I had to train like hell to be able to accept this power, Deku said. Why are you telling me this? Cinder asked. Because of my real semblance. You see, I recently unlocked my semblance. It grants me the ability to temporarily transfer my other quirks and their aura to another person, and as I said before, quirks take a toll on your body. Now let me tell you what my master told me when I first started training. If my body isn't a proper vessel, then my limbs would have been blown off. And I can tell that your body isn't a proper vessel. I can just transfer a quirk to you and then boom, Deku said. You wouldn't, Cinder said. Try me. Don't you ever try to threaten me, my friends or anyone else ever again, Deku said. No one. No one has ever. Not since. You dare, Cinder said. No. Don't you dare, Deku yelled, moving closer to Cinder, and now pinning her with just his hands. You think you can threaten me? Us? Well, you are sorely mistaken. Whatever you have planned, you won't be able to take a single step before I stop you. So, I'd suggest you stay the fuck away from us, you little, Deku yelled. Cinder then bit on Deku's lower lip, taking Deku completely by surprise. Whilst Deku was stunned, Cinder tried to hit Deku, but he pulled her from the wall. The two then ended up at one of the desks in the classroom. Cinder ended up laying on the desk with her head hanging off it, facing Deku's direction. Deku was standing over her and pinning her to the desk. The two were breathing heavily. Deku then felt Cinder reaching for something. What the fuck are you doing? Deku asked. I like strong men, Cinder said. Cinder and Deku then entered a hateful session of lovemaking, whilst also avoiding Glinda's curfew rounds. Afterwards the two left the classroom and headed back to their dorms with a bunch of scratches and bite marks. What took you so long? Jack asked, as Deku entered the room. Jack then noticed the scratches and bite marks. What the fuck happened to you? Jack asked. Cinder, Deku said. Janara was currently sitting in the Beacon Gardens. You're about to fall asleep, Titania said. No, I'm not. Shut up, Janara said. What are you even doing? Titania asked. Trying to get in touch with her. I don't know exactly how, Janara said. But doesn't her situation? Titania asked. Her body's health worsened to the point that she can't gather enough magic to appear to us anymore. That doesn't mean I can't try and contact her on my own, Janara said. Gather magic? Is that how it works? Titania asked. Yes, Janara said. Janara then began to remember what Amber had told her. While only aura users can consciously use their aura in large amounts for specific purposes, any living being continuously releases aura. So, whenever you use magic, you gather large amounts of this released aura from the environment and then shape it into the form of a spell, Amber said. I see. But, what if I'm in a place where there's very few things? Like a desert, or a wasteland? Janara asked. I asked the same question, once. I think. From what I remember, they told me that this extra aura accumulates over time in the ether and doesn't dissipate. So, even in places like that, you should have plenty of it to go around, if there hasn't been a magic battle recently. And, well, there's very few of us magic users left, Amber said. Back to the present. I can't really do anything to help with that plan. So I can at least try and not make her feel lonely, Janara said. I understand what you mean. But if you crash because you haven't been getting enough rest, you're not going to be able to do that either. You need to sleep properly, Titania said. I know, Janara sighed. 5 more minutes and then we're going back. Gods know what's happened if Ozpin noticed you're in the school, Titania said. Titania then left. Ozpin is the guy who is in the place where they need to go through to get to Amber, isn't he? What does he even want with me? Anyway, I'm fine. I don't need to sleep more. But maybe, if I close my eyes and focus. Yes, just focus. For a little while, Janara thought. Janara then closed her eyes and focused. As she focused on contacting Amber, Janara saw a glimpse of her before she was gone. Is there really nothing I can do? Janara asked. End of chapter 53.